Okay, thank you all for attending. Today's seminar is the power of reporting within a calibration management system and how those reports can be utilized to maximize your confidence when addressing issues regarding quality, productivity, and compliance. This webinar is presented by me and the founder of Prime Technologies and Ken Wachs. A little info about me. In the past, before starting Prime Technologies, I worked as a customer support specialist for the Micromotion division of Emerson, and later as an account manager and as a sales manager for the industrial division of Johnson Controls, which later, as a lot of you know, became Johnson Yokogawa. A brief background about Prime Technologies. I formed the company back in 1989. This is our mission statement. Next screen. We utilize software and services to provide a world-class customer experience, meeting the most demanding calibration and asset management challenges. Many of you folks are aware that a lighter version of ProCal is branded and sold as DBC Track 2 by Fluke, and that our programs are the most powerful solutions with the use of Fluke documenting process calibrators. Also, for more than 10 years, it was branded as an option to Rockwell Automation's Factory Talk Asset Center. Because of these large strategic alliances and our own efforts through our sales and sales marketing network, ProCal software is used by thousands of companies now around the globe. Our basic software product includes almost 100 standard reports. We also provide custom reports for our clients. And on any given day, we're always developing new custom reports for those clients. The intent today is to present to you some real-world examples of what we're doing, examples that cover a wide range of information retrieval and visual formats. Ken's going to lead the conversation for the next session. I'll jump in on occasion, and especially when showing examples of those custom reports. With that, I'll turn this over to Ken.
Thanks, Nick. To provide a little background about myself, I am Director of Business Development here at Prime Technologies. I work with many of our larger key accounts doing training, implementation consulting, and I also manage our global network of reseller partners. My relevant background for the purposes of this webinar is in biomedical research and industrial instrumentation. I've been working with ProCal clients over about the past 7 years in many different industries around the globe. Really, the industries are too numerous to list, but off the top of my head, chemical manufacturing, oil and gas, pharmaceuticals, nuclear and traditional power plants, food and beverage companies. It's just a few that I can think of. So a few points that we're going to cover today are some common problems using, setting up, and managing CMS software and their solutions. Some of the added benefits that a CMS software like ProCal provides. We'll show you some of our standard reports, which are very heavily used by our clients, and cover some of the aspects of getting the most out of your software via custom reports. There's even though you have a lot of standard reports that you use, it's almost inevitable that you might have something that you'd like to pull out that that would require some customization. And in general, we'll show you how the reporting works within ProCal. When everything is done, of course, we'll have a Q&A session to answer all your questions. One important note that I'd really like to emphasize: please enter any of your comments or questions that you want us to see in the QA session. Okay, there's a Q&A session that'll pop up. Please don't put them in the chat window, only because we won't have a permanent record and we won't be able to respond to you. So please put everything into the Q&A window. So for the purposes of this webinar, we're going to be utilizing the ProCal calibration management software, but the issues that we present can also pertain to other similar types of database applications. That said, during this seminar, I wanted to leave you with several really important points. Number one, With the right kind of reports, you can achieve extensive benefits for quality, compliance, productivity, and many other aspects of managing your organization, managing your instrument inventory. Number two, the degree of effectiveness for your reports is almost always dependent on the granularity and the quality of the data that's captured within your calibration management system. So that's something that you need to think about and pay close attention to what the quality is of the data. And then third, storing all the pertinent calibration information as data, especially numeric information, offers the greatest benefits. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but some examples. So just a few important do's and don'ts when you're setting up your CMS system for maximum effectiveness. Definitely do not want to use text fields to designate things like signal ranges and numeric values within your master instrument record. Trending and other math-related reports need numbers. And as a result, you definitely want to make sure that you're doing that. You want to allow separate input and output resolutions, for example, because they are often different. And in order to make sure that you can calculate things based on the math that you need, you want to make sure that you have those things thought out. Contemporaneous capture of information, such as found and as left values, it's really critical. The value of, for example, mobile workstation, which is one of our products, which allows you to enter data offline. The Fluke documenting calibrators, another example. No paper, no spreadsheets. Everything is going cleanly into the database without, really much human intervention or chances for errors as a result. Okay. Time and date stamping of activities. This is very important, especially for auditable material. And then finally, if you have some other examples of your experiences in terms of, either the positives or the negatives when you were setting up your ProCal system or setting up your own CMS software, we'd really like to hear about it because we'd like to know how our experiences, can dovetail with your own. So what are the common challenges? What are the typical challenges that we find with our prospects and our clients that they encounter? Number one, disorganized data can lead to difficulties in responding to issues in a timely fashion. And, it may seem obvious, but what a CMS system does is it allows you to concentrate and keep your data organized properly. Another thing is a lack of adequate, with a lack of adequate data and actionable insights, it can lead to poor decision making. Examples of this are in asset reliability, keeping track of reliability, out of tolerance alerts, being able to address issues quickly. Reverse traceability, obviously critical for managing your standards and making sure that any problems are resolved. Lack of communications with your team about what needs to be done and what are the current priorities. That's also a problem with, prior to actually having your system set up. The challenges and stresses of surviving an audit. And I can tell you that for some of our customers, this is the number one problem that they deal with because addressing an audit can usually be very time consuming, very complicated, and having all your data in one place, there's really not, there's a great deal of benefit. For service companies and, for example, professional divisions within a single company, lack of professionalism in reports, that's sometimes a problem. You want things to be more professional. And again, we'd like to hear from you what your challenges are. In terms of addressing these challenges, okay, centralized source of data for reporting that everybody has access to is a very important first step. In order to make educated decisions on, and decisions that you can be confident in, getting the right metrics in front of you, for example, in a comprehensive format, that's vital. Making accessibility simple and even automated for report delivery, for those that need recurring information. I mentioned, we may mention a couple of times eView, one of our products that allows you to send reports out automatically via email. So Making sure, for example, that your regulatory compliance has already been accounted for in your reporting formats, and making sure that when you build your reports that you can answer and appease questions from auditors. And finally, the professional data presentation is vital if you're representing either an organization like a services company or within your own company. It's especially important to be able to put your best foot forward when you're either interacting with your customers or when you're interacting with your peers and providing information to them. So all of these can be very important solutions that a CMMS provides. So there are always essential reports in the system. ProCal comes fully kitted out with a host of, of essential reports that most of our clients need. Some examples: scheduling and events due reports. These are very useful for both technicians and asset owners. They assist with planning resources and preparing, for example, for downtime activities. Certificates, labels, and summary reports, including calibration certificates and work order summaries. Obviously, these are important for documenting work completion. Barcode labels are an important tool, for example, for saving time and improving accuracy. There's no more need to be entering an asset ID by hand. You scan it, it pops up on the screen, and you're good to go. Quality management and alerts. For example, I already mentioned the reverse traceability report alone has saved several of our clients time, effort, and money on many occasions. For those of you who are not immediately familiar with it, it provides a list of all the calibrations performed using a specific standard so that any problem can be very quickly and effectively mitigated. And then, of course, compliance reports and audit trails for those of you who live in the compliance space. And finally, analytical and metric reporting. One of the greatest benefits of capturing your data in a CMS system is the metrics that all of a sudden become available that were not previously even thinkable. Advanced reporting like A3 interval analysis, which allows you to plan and analyze your resources available for doing certain things like calibrations. Trending across multiple instruments on a single calibration point, or even trending across multiple instruments of a particular brand, model, etc. Okay, and in ProCal specifically, we can set this up across multiple organizations if you need to. If you have multiple plants, for example, in your company, you're always going to need more typically. And when while calibration systems like ProCal are typically kitted out with the main reports, there's undoubtedly a time when you're going to want more out of it reporting-wise. Frequently, we work directly with our customers to either assist them while they're designing their own reports, or they can even leverage our engineering and custom reports departments to provide them with new reports to be generated in the system. Some examples, are embellishing calibration certificates, summary reports. It could be as simple as adding your logo and contact information, or redesigning a report to match existing documentation. Nick, I know that you've worked a lot with a lot of our clients and prospects on reporting. Could you talk a little bit about what's on the screen right now?
Yeah, thanks, Ken. This is a good example, an interesting example of what can be done. This is a result of a pilot test that we did for a major international chemical company using the ProCal software and the Fluke documenting calibrators. We took their paper-based practices and documentation and completely automated that. All of this information that you see, the task lists, the test points, the results, all came from the use of the two systems working in tandem in a completely paperless fashion. And the results of the pilot were a complete success.
Thanks very much, Nick. Thank you. So just a couple of other examples for you to see. I'll go through these pretty quickly, but we really wanted to see some samples of custom reports. It's always important to have productivity and metric reporting. If the data exists in the CMS, then virtually anything is possible. We've developed and created technician productivity reports, added additional graphs and charts to be added, for example, to failed calibration reports. and a lot of other similar circumstances. Reports to satisfy, for example, additional regulatory requirements. Obviously very important if you're in that regulatory space. Sometimes auditors want to see data presented in a specific or a unique format, or they might want additional information, for example, e-signatures to be added to a report. As always, as I've mentioned before, we would like very much to know what kinds of reports either you've created for yourself or that you would like to see, and you know how that dovetails in with the kind of work that we've done for other clients of ours. It's pretty standard today for a calibration management solution to provide multiple ways to access, generate, and download reports from a live system. Okay, for example, we provide an optional web-based reporting module called ProCal eView, which allows a non-ProCal user, of course, someone that does have permission to use the system, someone that does have a login, it's very secure, but if someone who doesn't have full access to the main ProCal system, they're able to log into a portal and generate any reports that they may have access to. There are benefits to each one of the approaches, and each one, has a different tailored user experience. Going directly, for example, through the ProCal user interface, that's the preferred method for anyone who's been fully trained on the system, like technicians. It also typically provides a more robust interface for querying the data. Users would then have to be logged into the primary software and then trained on how to navigate around and to be able to get the reports that are most valuable to them out of that approach. Records and information, one of the other advantages of going, of course, directly into the software, records and information can be modified and corrected. You can have access to the raw data. You can sometimes pull up two records right next to each other, an instrument record and a calibration report, so that you can compare things. A lot of advantages, however, to using a web-based reporting portal. For example, it's great for management and stakeholders and those not immediately trained on the full software package to be able to bring something up in an easy-to-use interface and just get access to what they need. eView, for example, provides a very user-friendly, intuitive interface for generating reports. Little or no training is required. And records can be more easily shared, as I mentioned before, emailed on a regular basis, or even specifically in eView, you can create an ad hoc report, run that report, save it as a PDF, and send it out to somebody. So there's a lot of advantages to that kind of thing. So before we move into the Q&A session, and I hope that this has all been helpful for you, how do you get started? Number one, you can visit our website. We certainly welcome you to do that. We've got a lot of information. We have videos and help material on the website. Please feel free to send us an email. During the Q&A session, I will make sure that Nick's and my contact information is on the screen, so you can jot down our email addresses. Or, of course, please write in the Q&A window right now. Let us know what you're interested in talking about. And I promise you, if we don't get to it before the end of the QA session, we will follow up with you on it. Over the years, we've provided all sorts of different levels of assistance to our customers. And we're always very happy to schedule a quick call to learn more about your needs and to see what it is that we can do to make it easier. So please feel free to reach out to us with any questions that you have about this process. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to kick off the QA process, and I will put into I'll put the slides on our contact information while we're doing this, so you can jot down anything that you need. But let me open the floor to you guys. Please tell us what kinds of questions you have and how we can answer them. Okay, so question number one. Is there a report that summarizes work that's been completed? Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we have a number of reports within ProCal, and that goes not only for calibrations that have been done, but we also have maintenance information in ProCal, and we provide reports that you can comprehensively list all of the work that's been done, for example, by week, for a given site, for a given client, for a given plant, etc. So very much so, yes, in ProCal. Next question, does ProCal organize data hierarchically and develop hierarchical reports? Great question. Absolutely. In ProCal, we have several different asset types that are organized or can be organized hierarchically. They can be used independently as well. But the nice part about it is that you can have instrument, of course, you can have loops, which a lot of our clients use. You can have equipment. You can also have what we refer to as systems. And you can essentially assign within a system, you can assign instruments, you can assign loops, you can assign instruments to a loop. So you can have multiple levels of hierarchy. And yes, we provide reporting for that as well. Next question is, do you have a Spanish language version? Answer to that is absolutely. As a matter of fact, we have, in addition to English, I believe we have 5 European and South American languages. We do have Spanish, we have Italian, we have German, French, and Brazilian Portuguese. I think I got them all there, but Nick, you'll correct me if I didn't.
Yeah, Ken, also, you might want to mention that when you switch languages, the reports automatically translate into that language as well.
Excellent point. I'm so glad you pointed that out. Let me spend just a second and talk about that, because if you're asking about languages, it probably is important to you that you're working in those languages. So, for example, the question was asked about Spanish. When you switch to Spanish language ProCal, not only can you work in Spanish with respect to all of the screens, the master instrument record, the loop, the instrument, the calibration screens, everything is in Spanish. You can also, when you run your reports, your calibration certificates, all of that is in Spanish. You also have the option in ProCal to change your, not only the time zone, but your reporting time format and date format. So we have a lot of tools like that that have been added into to ProCal. I'm just looking here. Are there any other questions that we can answer at the moment? Okay. Well, if there's no more questions, I would like to thank you and thank Nick for joining me and helping out on the webinar. Please do reach out to us via our contact information. We don't mind phone calls or emails at all, and we'd be very happy to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you all. We appreciate your attention.
Have a great day.